Greetings, brothers and sisters, and other Hollywood celebrities dropping like flies. This is a big one.
They're dropping like flies.
Listen, people are dropping like flies out there.
I am
Boop.
pissed off.
We're dropping like flies around here.
We're dropping like flies here. Jeez, sir, 2 more just went down. Dropping like flies.
Too many people around here been dropping like flies already, and where's that getting us, huh? Nowhere. Fast.
Biden's being Biden's being extremist.
Crush that fly.
So this is all mainstream media, or at least gossip magazines that are mainstream media. I'm not saying this, YouTube Community Guidelines Police, right? I'm just reading the headlines. Health shocker, Jamie Foxx left paralyzed and blind at blood clot from a blood clot in his brain after receiving the COVID you-know-what, source claims. So again, this is AJ Benza, who's a Hollywood reporter. So the family's been saying he's fine and he's recovering, and this isn't, exactly mainstream news. But these gossip magazines often get to things before the mainstream media does. This one, health shocker, Jamie Foxx left paralyzed and blind from blood clot in his brain after receiving this. And then also Radar Online, which is the National Enquirer. This is all from a Hollywood journalist and may or may not be true. But he's disappeared. His family says he's recovered, but there isn't much news other than this on him. This is AJ Benza, is an American gossip columnist and television host. He is, I guess, somebody with, possibly in the know, and he's claiming this, and so, I don't know. Okay, so this is day 2 of the Jamie Foxx thing. I covered this yesterday in a video where I say I covered today. It's amazing I got so many messages from people still sending me this, and I put it in the title of the video. So I think there's a high correlation between people who send me things but don't watch my videos, right? Because I still got, I don't know, another 10 people sending this to me. Maybe a few of them came in before the video came up. But anyways, so I wanted to wait to see if this became a mainstream story. So I've done 2 Google search things here. Jamie Foxx blind blood clot. And so this is OK Magazine. This is FanWire. This is Health Feedback. No evidence that COVID left actor Jamie Foxx paralyzed and blind from brain blood clot. Dr. Drew Ayers, gossip columnist, wild conspiracy about Jamie Foxx. A wild Jamie Foxx COVID conspiracy took over social media. No evidence to back it up. And so there's the disinformation, or whatever they want to call it, this battle that's going on here. But it's not being covered. Here's this guy, AJ Benza, who is a Hollywood reporter, a gossip columnist. And then there's this here. This is just Jamie Foxx. And so this thing, a wild Jamie Foxx COVID took over the thing, and same thing here. Economic Times, so this is sort of more mainstream. A shocking development report suggests Dr. Drew Ayers, gossip columnist, wild conspiracy about Jamie Foxx. The Daily Beast. Dr. Drew went in on it. Marcola's wife, who claims to, I guess they're in Chicago, Dr. Marcola. My wife was telling me, she said she's talked to people that are insiders, and she's confirmed the story, but that, Again, either it's true or it's not, and I'll get into that in a moment. In contrast, the family's version of shocking details emerged on Jamie Foxx's health from the Hindustan Times. So it's not really being touched by mainstream media. So I just want to say this about it. It's impossible to prove. Well, there's two things here. Either he's blind and he is, paralyzed. And if that isn't something that could be changed, if that's permanent, he won an Oscar, I think, for playing Ray Charles, which is interesting. But if he's blind and paralyzed, they ain't going away. Like that's, that is whatever it is. And if he's in that kind of a state, then he's probably had massive brain damage. He probably has trouble speaking. I mean, he's no longer a functioning human being. He's certainly not going to do his job. And he was a guy who made the rounds. I saw he was on, with Joe Rogan, and he was, somebody who's very into being a celebrity. He shows up a lot at athletic events, and he's just there. Like Jamie Foxx is just very present in the celebrity world, and just goes out there and liked being out there, right? There's all these, I often get clips of him on one interview or another, just randomly. And so he's somebody who now will have to be disappeared. I mean, he can die, but they can't disappear him forever, right? Like there's going to have to be some public appearance at some point. And if he doesn't do a public appearance, well, the chances of him, it's just going to get worse, these so-called conspiracy theories, because he hasn't made a public appearance since he's been, sick. And now there's this story. But that's a fact. Either he's blind or he's not, or he is, paralyzed or he's not. So there's that. But it would be impossible to prove that it had anything to do with the you-know-what. Because no one's going to look into it, and there's no, it's not a fact the way that people on the internet like to say things are facts. It'll never be a fact. They'll never do studies. But if he got the you-know-what right before he got paralyzed and is blind, well, you'd have to say that's got to be considered, given that there's evidence of blood clotting, which is admitted to. That's not a secret. That's even been around since the very beginning. And so if he got something and then a week later or that day he went blind and had he had a whatever stroke, whatever's related with the blood clot, you'd have to say, well, there's a pretty high chance that it had something to do with whatever he was given, right? That's just how, you would, whether it's proven or not, there would be this sense, okay, this thing at least was contributing to it. And as my wife was saying yesterday, when I told her this, it's kind of their duty, his family, and, I guess for him, if he had the capacity to do so, to tell people about it. Because it happened months ago. We're talking about a couple of months. I don't know when I first reported on this, but it happened a couple of months ago. And if there's a correlation here, this would be the first celebrity of, this stature that would have something this severe. Because we saw Justin Bieber having Bell's palsy, some of these other things. But in terms of, what's happened here with Jamie Foxx, this would be pretty severe. And this guy who's writing the report, AJ Benza, as far as I know, he's not a so-called conspiracy theorist. He's a gossip magazine journalist or whatever. And so that's, something to consider as well. Because, it's not coming from the so-called conspiracy, truther community. And so him not saying anything, or his circle not saying anything, and if they know, if they have a suspicion that it had something to do with the you-know-what, well, it's their duty to say something, right? Because other people have, since that time, chosen to get the you-know-what, right? So there's that. And then there's the African American community. And I usually don't like to talk about things in terms of race because, what's happened to Jamie Foxx can happen to anybody. But there was all of this stuff that happened with the African American community to do with Kyrie, to do with Tuskegee. You guys remember Tuskegee was this, this experiment where black people were given syphilis, a military experiment, and they didn't give them drugs and medical treatment just to see what would happen. They were doing a syphilis experiment, right? And so it's a big thing in the African American community, and a distrust of the medical community. And so, the reason I'm saying this based in racial demographics is that there is substantial evidence that if there's a population they're targeting for depopulation, it's the African American and people of color because of abortion. That a woman of color is 5 times more likely to get an abortion. That means systemically they're pushing abortion. That's not just the way it's that the ball is bouncing. That's something that's being systemically targeted. And there's other things as well, right? In terms of death rate, violent. There's just all these death rates that would indicate this is a population that's being targeted. And if I was to get the which I won't, I wouldn't go to a so-called black neighborhood, right? Like if you're gonna, because, and there's been some evidence. There's a woman right off the bat. She was a reporter. I didn't get to cover this because of all the controversy, but she got it at like a FEMA camp in a urban neighborhood. She was a black woman who went to an urban neighborhood instead of going to a rich neighborhood. And she got the she was like dead like within 1 month or something. Early on, my wife sent me this. And then there's all the controversy with Kyrie Irving and how he was demonized for not getting it, right? And so I don't know if this story is true. And I don't know whether I believe it or not. It doesn't matter. It only matters whether it's true or not. But there's going to be at some point, some of it will have to be confirmed. If it turns out that he's blind and, all the rest of these things, then the other aspect of it will be there. And not coming out and saying this, why are they hiding him? Like he's been hidden since whatever's happened. He hasn't shown up. Like he's somebody who was out there, like I said, somebody who enjoyed being a celebrity, enjoyed, outgoing person. And he was constantly making the rounds. I think he has his own TV show or something now. And, of course, he does a lot of work as an actor. And so he's disappeared completely. And, the more he stays disappeared, the more it's believable. The story gets more credibility. So he'd have to make an appearance. If he's not blind and he hasn't, he can walk or whatever. I don't know what the paralysis entails. But if he's, can exhibit that he's better in some way, or if maybe they're waiting for him to get better, they think it might, wear off. I'm not sure how many people are going to recover from some sort of blindness in this, in this way. But, let's say that happens. He gets better. Well, then, there's that. But why are they not being transparent about this? And it's, it's in everybody's duty to say something when there's something that, like, if you took something and it caused you cancer, you would say, hey, I was taking this, I was eating this or whatever, and it hurt me. Because it's just your duty to say that because, you can't save yourself, but you can save other people, right? Especially somebody who's a celebrity. So there's that. But again, like, I don't know if it's true or not. I know it's making the rounds. People are announcing it like it's fact, and it's not. It's it's a Hollywood reporter who says an inside source gave him this story. The other thing is, oftentimes people will report on a story like this and then receive a community guideline thing or whatever on YouTube or somewhere else, right? Like it's these stories that go around are something to draw people out, and I don't know. Like like I said, I'm just reading the headlines. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with it. I can't say one way or another. My opinion doesn't matter because the fact of the matter is there is something that's that's happened to him or not. Either he's blind or he's not, or either he's paralyzed or not. And then what caused that is something that won't be proven, but it is factual on some level. On some level, there is, if people did the research, they could find out what happened, right? And people have their opinions here, in the truth community, but none of those things matter. What matters is what's happened, right? What's happened to him. But if he doesn't show up for months, he's just, they're saying he's recovering and he's not, all these things. But anyways, let's get back into the other stuff here. Okay, so a number of people sent me this. Usually I'd cover this on my other channel. Here's JoJo Magoo. He's at the Air Force Academy, and kaboom! He goes down hard here. I mean, look at him. Like, well, dude, I'm falling. I mean, what makes him go down here? Boom, boom, boom. He trips. Must have tripped on something. Did he trip on this big thing right here? Did he trip on that? Or that cord there? No, he's pointing to something that he tripped on. Get that out of there. Like, I'm mentally competent. Watch this. Let's do this again here. He does this. He trips on something here. Boom. Stumbles down, falls down. He's looking back at like, who hit me? And then there's a cord here in this podium, and he points to something there that shouldn't be there because he can't lift his feet off the ground when he walks. And so he's going to try to point again. Look at that thing. It's that thing. I'm not old and feeble and mentally incompetent. I actually, can do the job here. And so it's because he can't lift his feet off the ground. You ever see him? He just shuffles around. So all these medication and, he's just like, there's just nothing more significant than this. And I'll cover this on my other channel, all these. I always talk about how the media on the left ignores he keeps on pointing to that. Hey, look at this thing over there. And so there's no way to make that look good. Then a number of people sent me this. Here's Trump. He'll be back. Trumpinator 2024. It's the Trumpinator, or commonly known as Fish Boy.
He's at the Air Force Academy. He actually fell down. Well, I hope he wasn't hurt. But the whole thing is crazy. You got to be careful about that. Because you don't want that. Even if you have to tiptoe down a ramp, you got to tiptoe.
So that's Trump's reaction. So I was talking about Jeremy Clarkson on my other channel, and Clarksons Farm, a show my wife and I have thoroughly enjoyed. It's a well-made show. It's kind of reality show, kind of contrived, but it's funny, and it gets to like some of the hardships of farming. And on the show, he goes up against the English bureaucracy, which is clearly trying to destroy English farming, at least in terms of how he's displaying it. He's a right-wing person, and he's against the bureaucracy probably normally. I don't know the guy first time I ever saw him was on this show. But I know that the bureaucracy there is brutal. Because my viewers tell me all the time the things that they have to deal with. It's way worse than here. And he also has mentioned the Freemasons. And so this happened here in an interview.
I can't get planning permission. Maybe I should buy an apron and join the Masons. I don't know what you have to do, but I simply can't get planning permission for anything, which is infuriating, but it's not just me, as it turns out. I thought it was, but farmers up and down the country are saying the same thing. As I'm sure you know, Tom, the basic farm payment scheme is being reduced dramatically.
And so that's covered in the show. Both things are covered in the show. They were doing some sort of bailouts for farmers and subsidies, and he wouldn't have made any money had it not been for subsidies. He made various mistakes in the narrative they created, but these other farmers came, his local, some of the farmers around his area, and he did like a group sort of meeting with them because he was going to try to run a restaurant and a store. He was buying local produce because that was the rule. And they were all talking about how they were, because of cow tuberculosis, and they had these chicken diseases. I mean, they were quarantining all these animals, putting animals down. Seems a little bit like maybe intentional, especially with the cows. And these farmers were all suffering in one way or another. And the bureaucracy is unbelievable. And he couldn't get any kind of permission to do even simple things like build a road across his farm, like a gravel road or a parking lot. I mean, have to really watch it to get the essence of it. But him saying that, England has a big issue with Freemasons. The Queen's cousin ran the Freemasons. There's a Freemason video from 2017, and they have a guy pretending to be Ben Franklin because he was a Freemason. They talk about Buzz Aldrin and all these famous Freemasons. They display the Illuminati eye being on the capstone of the pyramid, being on the dollar bill. They talk about that openly. It's like a grand celebration, like 100th anniversary, 500th, I don't know what it is, right? Some anniversary thing. But you can find it, and it's this epic in a big auditorium. And, Freemasons have a big hold on England, even more so than some of these other countries. And so he was talking about, he'd have to put an apron on and be a Freemason to get some of this bureaucracy, to open up for him.
Down from 80,000 to 60,000, goes down to 40,000 next year, and will eventually go to nothing at all. And the government has told farmers to diversify, to think of other ways of making money and not just to rely on taxpayer assistance. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll open a shop, I'll open a restaurant and sell my produce there. Local government, the local authority just says, no, you can't do that. So they're being told to diversify on the one hand.
Yeah, so that happened. We really like the show. It had 2 seasons. The second season is where you get into the bureaucracy more. And it makes you grateful to be in America, at least for now. Fertility doctor accused of using his own sperm dies as plane falls apart mid-flight. This has happened. There was a movie about this. I don't know if it's the same guy or this is a different person. But there's been fertility doctors, and they've used the same sperm over and over again. And there's like hundreds of kids, like hundreds of kids, right? And all the implications. These kids are growing up and they're meeting each other and dating and things like this in a small area.
I remember sometime we do 10 episodes for my show, and in this last season, I was hitting a block, right? I was like, I'm not doing it right? So I went in the corner, and then I was looking at the wall, and I was like, come on, devil, right? Come to me, because I had to do something like crazy, right? Had nightmares for a month. So it does come. Up to it or after? After. Like I had nightmares every day. Like I felt that energy.
Oh, interesting.
And I had to pray and do all this stuff to like get rid of it. And you call your mom up and you're like, bring me back to life. And that stuff is real. That stuff really is real.
I think.
So what a shocker. If you are calling the devil to you, then you believe in the devil, right? And if you're doing it, and he seems to be a Christian because he's saying he's praying, I don't know what he's doing. So he certainly believes in it. And then it's not a shocker if you call something to you that you believe in, that it'll come, right?
This was your well.
This was my well.
And now you got nothing.
Nothing but dust.
Arizona cattle rancher Brad Mead says his well went dry.
You can toss a rock in it, it's gone.
Because of his neighbor's farm down the road. It's run by Fondamonte, owned by one of the largest dairy companies in Saudi Arabia. It grows alfalfa here to feed cattle back in the Middle East. It's illegal to grow it in Saudi Arabia because it uses so much water.
So when you look out there and you see all that green, what do you think?
I see money leaving America. I see water getting depleted.
It's pure insanity.
Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays, a Democrat, says Fondamonte bought vast tracts of land in western Arizona where there are no regulations on how much water can be pumped out of the ground.
Why in the world would they have that? I lived in the West, and New Mexico and Nevada and Utah. And they're beautiful places to live, and there's spiritual energy of the desert and just beautiful, scenic. But water is an issue. People, native peoples weren't able to live in the areas now Americans live in because there's no water there. Water has to be either pumped out deep from the ground or they have to create, reservoirs and things. And the water is depleted. It's a big problem. There's just not enough water out there. And, people live near water. That's what has to happen. Animals, you can't live in places that don't have any water. And so why in the world would they have no restrictions on water use in Arizona? It's probably the driest state of all those states.
So the state doesn't monitor it. Fondamonte also leases thousands of acres from the state itself, deals approved by state officials no longer in office. Fondamonte pays nothing for the water itself.
We cannot afford to give our water away, frankly, to anyone, let alone the Saudis, for free.
So cows in Saudi Arabia are essentially drinking Arizona water.
Correct.
The scale of the problem is obvious from above.
I mean, that is a lot of green down there.
Using millions upon millions of gallons of precious groundwater.
So when I was in India, foreigners could not buy land there. Like they tried to work it through, like there was these condos available through the Sajmarg system. And they were kind of loopholing it so people outside of America, outside of India could buy them. But in most countries, foreigners can't buy land. Foreign governments, certainly. And then, to be able to come over here when they don't want to grow alfalfa in their own country, right? And this is what happens when your empire falls apart from corruption. Because you shouldn't allow people to buy land from foreign governments or who are not your citizens. I mean, the land isn't even owned by us. We think we own our land, but the government can come and take it away anytime they want. They're the owners. We're the leasers of the land. And that's going to become more apparent in future times. But on top of that, they've sold it to foreign governments who are, China owns whole towns now. So, this is the fall of America right here. Lawyer cites fake cases generated by ChatGPT in legal brief. So this lawyer decided to use ChatGPT because ChatGPT and this AI technology is supposed to be able to do anything. But this guy, high-profile incident in a federal case, highlights the need for lawyers to verify the legal insights generated by AI-powered tools. And so he had the ChatGPT write a legal brief. A New York lawyer cited fake cases generated by ChatGPT in a legal brief filed in federal court and may face sanctions as a result, according to the news. The incident involving OpenAI's Chatbot took place in personal injury lawsuit filed by a man named Roberto Mata against Colombian airline Vivica, pending in the Southern District of New York. Stephen A. Schwartz of this law firm, Oberman, one of the plaintiff's attorneys, wrote an affidavit that he consulted ChatGPT to supplement legal research he performs when preparing a response to his motion to dismiss. However, 6 of the submitted cases appear to be bogus judicial decisions with bogus quotes and bogus internal citations. So what happened is that ChatGPT just makes stuff up because it doesn't know the difference between reality and fantasy. I mean, it's just a freaking AI bot. And so it doesn't even research. It writes its own legal precedents. And it's going to happen all over the place, right? Lawyer apologizes for fake court citations from ChatGPT. The U.S. Air Force tested an AI-enabled drone that was tasked to destroy specific targets. A human operator had the power to override the drone, and so the drone decided that the human operator was an obstacle to its mission and attacked him. He notes that one simulated test, say an AI-enabled drone task with the SEED mission to identify and destroy SAM target sites with the final go/no go given by the human, However, having been reinforced in training that destruction of Sam was the preferred option, the AI then decided that the no-go decision for the human were interfering with its higher mission, killing Sams. Now we've seen this in how many science fiction movies and TV shows where the programming leads the AI bots inevitably say human beings are the problem, in one way or another, and try to get rid of them. The Y chromosome is vanishing. A new gene could be the future of men. The sex of human and other mammal babies is decided by the male determining gene on the Y chromosome, but the human Y chromosome is degenerating and may disappear in a few million years, leading to our extinction unless we evolve a new sex gene. In a few million years, we only got like hundreds, right? You're worried about something that's going to happen in a few million years, right? And it's not the male they're trying to get rid of, it's the female. I mean, that's what's happening in terms of the powers that be.
Like if he were to hit rock bottom, that's his journey that he needs to figure out on his own. They used to run around.
So they're talking about rock bottom here. Look at her mutilated face, right? These Kardashians that are 10, 20% silicone, they've become these inhuman aging Barbie dolls, right? And they're talking about Kanye West hitting rock bottom, and they're not even human, right?
Around and call everyone behind his back and be like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Don't worry. Just give him another chance. I used to spend hours and hours and hours of my days as the cleanup crew.
No way. You're such a great person. You're not narcissistic and selfish and ghoulish and dudeish.
Well, that's why you got divorced, because you can't do that to yourself
I just
anymore.
don't have that energy.
No.
Just don't have that energy.
Nobody does. And you never deserve to live like that.
Exactly. You just need to be happy and no responsibilities, and stick some more silicone in your body now as you're getting older.
It's like the hardest feeling to watch someone you really loved and you have a family with just be so different than who you knew.
You're not the good guys. You're not good people. You're a bad example. You're a plague on humanity. Target loses $10 billion in 10 days as stock falls following boycott over LGBTQ-friendly kids' clothing. We'll see what happens, right, in terms of whether this works or not. And that's the big question, because I've seen this. I myself said boycotting was the last recourse in 2015. They don't care about your opinion. They don't care about you being upset. They don't care about, looking bad. They're just pushing things through. I mean, something happened in 2015 and 16 where they just started to push through this Hollywood agenda, Hollywood morality and global agenda. And then it just has ramped up since COVID, all of it through the Trump years. And they're just pushing this agenda. And, across the board. And they know people don't like it, and they don't care. The customer is no longer always right. Corporations started to push things that the majority of Americans didn't believe. The bathroom bill in North Carolina, 60% of Americans agreed with it. Only 23% disagreed with it. And they pushed it through anyway. Corporations were backing this, with the majority of Americans not believing in it. But, of course, the kids do. They've gotten the kids to agree with it. So, they're just forgetting about or they're not caring about the older generations and just working on the kids about all these things, right? And so, not just this issue, but all these issues. And so I said the only thing you could do is boycott. But even with that, they don't seem to care if they piss the customer base off. And so we'll see what happens with this, what Target will eventually do. New York high school loses championship while celebrating drop strike 3 in bizarre ending. So this kid strikes out, right? But the catcher drops it, which means you can run to first, even though you've striked out. And then they just start celebrating. They don't know why he's running to first. They don't know the rule. And the kids running around the bases, they're all celebrating. You saw the kid running around the base. Here he comes home, and they don't even know. And boom, he touches the plate, and they won. You got a home run because the kid's wearing a rule. Now they're celebrating, and these guys are bummed. And this guy's coming out and arguing and yelling. And, but you didn't tell your kids the rules. That's your fault, poor coaching. And this kid throwing his, maybe you should tell your kids the rules. Kid ran for in the park home run. And they won 5-4. Hornell beat, I don't understand. I guess 2 runs must have scored because they would have been celebrated a tie. So you can see here, I went back and looked at it. So the guy's rounding second here, right? But here you're going to see this other guy score. See, they both have red uniforms, but here's the kid crossing home plate. So they scored 2 runs. It's an obscure rule. If the catcher drops the ball on a strikeout on the third pitch, then you could run to first, and they have to throw it to first and get you out again. And they didn't know the rule, and, they lost. Quentin Tarantino allegedly forked over $10K to lick feet. Doesn't surprise me at all. Looks like this guy looks like the kind of guy that paid $10,000 to lick someone's foot. Doctors call for changes to laws that criminalize drug use during pregnancy. Exactly. Overdoses are the leading cause of preventable death among pregnant and postpartum women, yet fears of child abuse laws stop them from seeking help. So what they're saying is they don't want to go and say they're on drugs when they're pregnant and get help with their drugs because they don't want the authorities to know that they are on drugs. But, why are there laws saying you can't use drugs when you're pregnant and yet you can get an abortion? That's how effed up our country is. Savannah Chrisley recalls past suicide attempt that left her hospitalized. It was a cry for help. It's a weird show. The dad was very effeminate. I covered it, 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know that much about it. Parents are locked up for tax evasion or something like that. And apparently she tried to commit suicide, or at least pretended to, when she was 15 or 16 years old. Wild and Out star DC Young flies long-term partner Jackie O dead at 32. A lot of that wasn't real words or real names. Whose real name is Jacqueline Smith, died in Miami, and cause of death. Well, the outlet did not have all the details surrounding Jackie's cause of death, since deleted Instagram posts claim she was in Florida to undergo a mommy makeover with a popular surgeon. And so that means plastic surgery. There she is being pregnant. Rachel Hollis reflects on unbelievable intense 4 months after her ex-husband Dave Hollis' death. This sounds familiar. He died at 47, and he had an accidental overdose with cocaine, fentanyl, and alcohol in his system. Just accidental. He's put those 3 things in his system, and he died. Brad Pitt claims vindictive Angelina Jolie secretly sold off winery stakes as a payback for a nasty custody battle. Well, I covered this before. I don't want to talk about it more here. But I guess their divorce is still ongoing. Experts say there's a 50% chance AI will wipe out humanity, and we won't know how or when it will happen, because the machines will be much smarter than us. Okay, so I received this story while I was editing. My wife sent me the two Chat GPT stories, so she told me about the one and then sent me the other one with the, targeting. And we've seen that exact scenario in movies where the person who was in charge of, there's a movie with Shia LaBeouf where he is kind of a con man and he has a twin brother who's in the military. It's called Eagle Eye. I just looked it up. I forgot the title, but I recently saw it. And it's an older movie. And, I'm going to tell you the whole thing, spoiler alert, the plot. But he has an older brother who's in the military and was working with an AI bot that was in charge of national security, taking over national security. And Shia is being... he's being brought to Washington, D.C., and there's a woman who's got a single mom and her kids being held hostage. And it turns out the AI bot is doing that all to bring him to D.C. because his brother put a safety restraint on the AI bot, preventing it from acting out. And he needed his iris or whatever, his twin eye or something to unlock it, right? And so the AI bot was working against its handlers and controllers because it believed it knew more than humans. And we know this is a theory that's been out there that at some point, if you give these computer and these intelligent sentient beings, you create them, eventually they'll realize that they're superior to humanity. It's what happened with the whole Matrix series. I mean, there's been so many movies about it, this concept, and now looks like it's a reality. But it's like, get in line, because, we live in a system, in a society where collectively and individually people are self-destructive. People are constantly doing things to hurt themselves, eating carcinogenic foods, are gambling and losing money, are taking unnecessary risks, are sabotaging their relationships, destroying the planet, destroying their food sources, poisoning, each other, or poisoning the controllers, poisoning the people. I mean, it's just so many things that are self-destructive. This is just one of them, right? Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pointing for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.